Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Regina Chowdhury. This is Victoria Alperovich, and hidden behind the scenes we have Sarah Lavinia and Melissa Savar-Rosas. Today we'll be presenting to you about the new phenomenon known as the sharing economy. Peer-to-peer services, as it's commonly referred to, includes assets which is owned by different people, whereas bikes, homes, or various cars, and they're able to rent it out to other users while they are not being utilized themselves. Currently, this is a very growing trend, which we are seeing with the rise of companies such as Airbnb and Uber. There are some criticisms, however, with this new phenomenon, most specifically with the regulations and different legal issues which are causing them to have more litigation expenses. Other people are claiming that this is just a major disruption to the current mature markets of automobiles and hotels most specifically. However, it'll be very interesting to see in the future how this continues to develop. One thing is for certain, though, with its infancy, this is only just the beginning. And therefore, the question arises, with such a new and unique business model, how do these companies account for revenue, and what are the different tax implications?
No taxis available? I guess we'll download this Uber app. Oh, they'll be here in 5 minutes. Hi, thanks so much for picking me up. So this is my first time using Uber. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. You simply download the Uber app, request an Uber, and enter your destination, and we'll give you an estimated time of arrival to where you are.
Wow, that's such an interesting company. Why is this different from taxi services?
We're different from taxis because me, as a driver, I own my own vehicle. Uber charges on a base fare rate, and they add per mile and per minute rates as well. And it's very simple because you simply pay through the app through your credit card.
Wow, that's a really interesting business structure. So how do you all account for your revenues?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure. Okay.
Oh wow, I can get an Airbnb that's cheaper than a hotel? Might as well try it out. Hi, my name is Melissa.
Hi.
Are you my host?
Regina, yes I am. Welcome to my apartment. Let me give you a quick look around. This is my favorite part of my place. This is the living room, which has an amazing view over Rio de Janeiro. And this is the world's most comfortable couch in the world. Here, have a seat.
Alright. Yeah, it is pretty comfortable. And the view is quite amazing. This is the first time that I've done Airbnb. How does it really work?
Well, as you can see, I own this apartment myself, and through the company like Airbnb, I'm able to connect with users and guests such as yourself to easily rent it out.
Oh wow, that sounds amazing. It's kind of like a home away from home.
Yeah.
So how does Airbnb profit, and how are the tax ratios?
You know, to be honest, this is my first year being a host, so I'm not too sure about that at the moment.
So as the Airbnb CEO once said, our world used to be divided, private citizens and businesses. And in today's world, a private citizen can become its own business within 60 seconds. So currently, only 7% of US Americans have tried any type of sharing service. But in the survey, 60% said they would be willing to try this service, which really shows how much growth and potential this sharing economy really has. So why is this sharing economy taking off? Well, you can try out something new without having a significant monetary commitment to what you're doing. And it's also a more efficient use of resources, which is beneficial for the environmental. But whatever the motivation, the trend is clear. People want to use services when they need them without owning the asset. So as these companies grow and grow, they're starting to have some growing pains as well. Questions surrounding the insurance and legal liability of these companies over their hosts and their assets are starting to arise, as well as tax collectors are wondering whether or not all of the income is being reported. Because any self-employment income has to be fully recorded and it's fully taxable on a Form 1040. So as we proceed, it's important to remember that Uber and Airbnb are still private companies and they don't have any official financials reported. And their unique business structure accounts for, they have different revenue and expenses, different ways that they account those. So as we proceed, we'll look into two of the biggest sharing economy services, Uber and Airbnb.
So Uber is similar to a taxi service, although it usually tends to be a much cheaper option. Although in this chart you can see that Uber has different levels, so if you want to go more luxurious, you have that option. The main difference between Uber and taxis is that the driver owns the asset. And so essentially each driver is independently contracted through Uber, so they have their own expenses. They pay for their car payments, insurance, and things like that. So when it comes to revenues, Uber keeps about 20%, while 80% of it does go in wages to the drivers. And this is because the drivers are paying for their own expenses. Personally, a driver can expense anything related to their Uber, such as the gas mileage, things like that, and so they can decrease their personal taxes. When it comes to any potential repairs or cleaning fees, it's at Uber's discretion if they want to pay. The driver can send a form or a claim to Uber's corporate office, and it's up to them if they want to take care of it or not. When it comes to recognizing the revenue is recognized once the drive is over. Since Uber is based on a credit card system, your credit card is connected to the app. They're a completely cashless system. So this raises the issue of that they will have higher accounts receivables, which in the future could lead to potential collection issues. So they should just have a larger bad debt expense account to offset that. As we stated, Uber is a private company, so none of their financials are released. So a lot of the calculations are based on estimates and any released information they have given. So currently, Uber is estimated to make $10 billion by the end of 2015, and they will recognize $2 billion on that, which is that 20%. And currently, they're valued at $41 billion, and that makes them the most valuable travel startup currently. And this is based on a 10 times revenue multiple, which is similar to that used for Facebook and LinkedIn. And this is actually slightly lower than similar companies in their market. Currently, they're growing at 300% per year, and they're on track for that for 2015 as well. As you can see in this chart, a lot of their revenues are made from the largest cities, such as New York, San Francisco, and Chicago. And I think this just shows the growth potential once they continue to expand their operations into the newer cities and explore their options. And currently, the CEO of Uber said that they do not plan for an IPO at this time.
So Airbnb finds itself as a community marketable where people can, where it connects people who want to rent their place with people who are looking for accommodations. And this is found globally. Airbnb, like Uber, does not own any of these properties. So you might be wondering, how does Airbnb make its profits? It charges 3% from its hosts and between 6 to 12% from its buyers. So in total, it receives between 9 and 12% on all transactions. Currently, Airbnb is valued at $20 billion and has $450 million in funding. Its estimated revenues are around $500 million. Unfortunately, because they do not give out the revenues, we can only estimate what they have been making. Fortunately for us, these have been put online. So, you might be wondering more about insurance and legality issues. Well, Airbnb protects its users up for $1 million for damages and property with its host guarantee program. But that does not include the home insurance, renter's insurance, and the umbrella coverage that the people do need to have. As Airbnb is growing, they're also facing tons of legal charges, primarily because Airbnb puts the responsibility to follow state and local laws into the hands of the host rather than Airbnb itself. So, as Airbnb becomes more popular and the sharing economy does as well, there's an uprising in freelancing. And many of the Airbnb hosts are trying to expense their furniture and appliances to make their houses more appealing to the guests who come in. And they feel at the end of the year that they can expense these. But unfortunately, unless they can prove that these are only used by the guests that come in, they cannot be itemized, and they will actually be stuck with the cost themselves. Luckily, though, the Airbnb host can depreciate their home. They can do so by following these 4 criteria. They must first own their property, then they have to use their property to create some sort of income. The property and property must exceed or last more than 1 year.
So as was mentioned previously, there are a lot of current unclear regulations, which we do strongly recommend that companies like Airbnb and Uber take a really great look at to help fix in and whiten out the gray area. There are also a lot of tax implications. And overall, with these issues, we recommend that they take a more of a hands-on approach. As Melissa mentioned earlier, Airbnb leaves it up to their hosts to make sure that they are compliant. However, if they are to take more of an active role and to make sure that the hosts in major cities like New York and San Francisco are following their local laws, their legal expenses will be greatly reduced, and we believe that the skeptics and the critics of the sharing economy will be a lot more confident about this new trend. And besides the companies of Airbnb and Uber that we also mentioned, there are many other peer-to-peer services as the ones listed above. And although the CEOs of Airbnb and Uber have said that they will not be going public within the current future, they are hopeful that whenever their business is ready to join the IPO boom. There are many things to consider, especially with such a new and unique business model, such as perhaps their expenses having to increase with other certain aspects, and also they might have to recognize their revenue a little differently. And at this point, we would like to open up the floor to any questions that you might have, any comments, and we would like to greatly thank you for your time.